Yes. Yes. Yes! Dragon Age Inquisition. Alright, so Dragon Age Inquisition is the third installment of the Dragon Age franchise. So, before I talk about Inquisition, I want to talk about Origins and Dragon Age 2. I'm a Dragon Age fanatic. The only other thing I can think, on top of my head, care as much about Dragon Age is Star Wars. Those are some pretty high standards, because y'all know, y'all see me talk about videos. You know how crazy I am about Star Wars. I'm crazy! Dragon Age Origins. You play a character called the Grey Warden. A darkspawn horde of ugly monsters are going to destroy the world unless you accept your destiny and become the hero this world deserves. What makes Dragon Age Origins so good was the story. Really, if you really go down into it, Dragon Age Origins is really a generic fantasy story. Shoot me, but in my opinion. Because think about the story. Dragon Age Origins, you gather your allies to fight against the evil creatures and monsters like orcs from Lord of the Rings. First time I played Dragon Age Origins, it reminded me so much of Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. Enough about Dragon Age Origins. Dragon Age 2. Most people don't like this game. I'm like, why do you not like this game? I understand why people don't like Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 takes place right after the events of Dragon Age Origins. Play a character called Hawk. Hawk is a character who was raised in Lothering, a city that you find out gets wiped out in the beginning of Dragon Age Origins. Then you and your family travel to Kirkwall, a city kind of like the Free Marches. You must rise from poverty into a champion, and ultimately shape the world, put the world on the brink of disaster. Why people didn't like Dragon Age 2 was because it was really linear. They reused settings for levels. Really, the story is so unique. First, let's talk about Varric. Think about the typical dwarf in Dragon Age Origins. He's a typical dwarf. He has a beard. He drinks alcohol all the time, and then he just wants to hit people with his axe. Introduce Varric, and Varric is the complete opposite of the dwarf we've ever seen. Very witty. He loves telling stories. He's a cool character. I have to compare Varric to anything. It's to Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones. Not from the whole story thing, but just because he's so smart, he always has something quick to say. So let's get down to it. Let's talk about Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Age Inquisition takes place about, I'm going to say, 3 years after the events of Dragon Age 2. I love the Dragon Age books, because I can't talk about Dragon Age Inquisition without talking about the books. There are 3 books that came out, but I've read that half of the third one. It doesn't matter, because the third Dragon Age book really has nothing to do with the events of this game. 5 books. The first book, a book about King Merrick. It's a cool book. First book, it talks about how Merrick becomes king of Ferelden again and takes away the Orlesians from Ferelden. The second book is also about Merrick, but also introduces the Grey Wardens, and you also see a young Duncan character. The 3 books that came out right after Dragon Age 2. The third Dragon Age book is called Dragon Age Asunder. Dragon Age Asunder is such a cool book. First off, it's really what leads us into the Mage and Templar Civil War. Or war, whatever. I don't know if it's a civil war or not. I think it's just a war. So it's Templar and Mage War. If you play Dragon Age Origins or Dragon Age 2, you know the Templars stomp on the mages. I mean, look at the events of Dragon Age 2. The Templars just force the mages into demonhood. The third Dragon Age book goes into why the mages and Templars split apart. There's also a character that gets introduced in Dragon Age Inquisition that was actually first introduced in Asunder. And that is Code the Spirit. I was like, hey, that guy was in Dragon Age Asunder because I remember him. The fourth Dragon Age book was called Dragon Age The Masked Empire. The Masked Empire takes place at the same time of the events of Dragon Age Asunder. I read the book earlier this year, and when I was reading it, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. This happened at the same time as the third book did. The fourth book's all about the game, the Orlesian game. You saw the game a little, Dragon Age. You see it in this game, and it was pretty awesome. It's a book really worth checking out. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, same with Dragon Age, off of Game of Thrones. But really, it's not. It's really its own unique game, because what's cool about the Orlesians, they wear masks, and that's how they play the game. It's very similarity toward to the Roman game. That's all. They play their game they believe conflict help mold into the best people for their nations. What's cool about Dragon Age is each nation we've seen so far is a remnant of a nation from our history on the world. Ferelden is pretty much England, like during like King Arthur's days or whatever. Free marches. The free marches is based off ancient Greece because you had city-states in their own little country pretty much, and they don't really like the other city-states. And free marches is based off French, and you can pretty much assume you pretty much know they're French because they have a French accent. The 5th Dragon Age book, I forgot what it was called, but it's about the Grey Warners, and it's really about the last blight, not the blight that happens in Dragon Age Origins, but the blight before that, and what happened to the Griffins. Those are the books of Dragon Age. If you want something to prepare you to play Dragon Age, and if you want to know more about the world, I say check out the first 4, because I haven't finished the 5th one. I'll probably do a review of it once I finish that book, but I'm still reading Tarkin. I should have it done by today or tomorrow, so I'll probably have a review of that soon, so stay tuned. Enough intros. Let's talk about Inquisition. So Inquisition, you play a character who's been touched by the Maker. Maker is the god of the Dragon Age world. He's kind of, the Chantry is kind of like the Catholic Church. Well, everyone thinks your character is touched by Andraste, the Maker's chosen one. They saw a woman whenever he walked out of the Fade, or she walked out of the Fade. The story pretty much is, an explosion happens at a conclave where the Divine, which is pretty much the Pope, but she's a woman, she is trying to bring peace to the Templars and mages, and a conclave explodes and rips a hole in the sky. Demons, monsters, everything is flooding through the world, and it's going all crazy. So you must reform an order that has not existed in over like 1,000 years or 800 years, whatever. Inquisition. I heard Dragon Age is called the Inquisition. I thought that was awesome. Cool about Dragon Age so far, we've seen Dragon Age Origins, you play as a Grey Warden, a hero. Dragon Age 2, you play as a guy who's trying to rise from nothing and become a champion. Dragon Age 3, or Inquisition, you're playing as a holy character, or someone who thinks you're holy, and trying to start a holy war to bring peace to the world. I don't want to say anything else about the story. I will probably do a spoiler review. I know last time I said I was going to do a spoiler review, I was going to do Interstellar, but I got too lazy, and I'm going to have to see Interstellar again to talk about a spoiler review. So if I get it on DVD or rent it or watch it online, I'll do a spoiler review of Interstellar, I promise. Talk about the gameplay a little. Gameplay is like the gameplay is a lot like Dragon Age 2, but it also brings the tactical gameplay from Dragon Age Origins, the PC version. That's fun. I'm not a big strategy fan. Kind of games are just games where I can just go, just mash the X button, just go. Now let's talk about the characters in Dragon Age Inquisition. First character we'll talk about is Cassandra. Cassandra is the woman who interrogates Barrick in the events of Dragon Age 2 about what happened to the story of Hawke. Cool character, because she's trying to do good. That's what really drives her character. The coolest character Dragon Age has probably created is Barrick. Barrick is a great character. Cool about Barrick is he sees things that happen to the Inquisition, and he realizes it's his fault. He sees the problem that him and Bartra did in Dragon Age 2. He said, if we never did anything, none of this would have happened. So he feels responsible, and he's there for redemption. That's what's cool about Barrick's story in Dragon Age Inquisition. When I heard Barrick was going to be a Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, oh, they're kind of forcing that, aren't they? But no, they're not forcing it at all. It's actually a cool story on Barrick's part. You also have your advisors. You have Colin. Colin's been in every Dragon Age game, and he's been playing a really small role. Now you can romance him if you're a woman, if you play a woman character, and he plays as a military advisor, and he stopped using lyrium. There's Josephine. Josephine is she's an Antivan. She's a diplomat. And I love the Antiva. They've done such cool things with Antiva for every Dragon Age game. I'm thinking they're probably going to go to Antiva probably the next game or the game after that. A character that returns is Liliana. Liliana was a companion in Dragon Age Origins, and she made a brief cameo appearance in Dragon Age 2. A cool character. I always like Liliana. Solus is a cool character. He's an elf who he wanders the world. He's always been an apostate. He's never been an elf. I can't say any more about Solus without doing a spoiler review, and I'm going to be doing one. So one of my favorite characters I'm going to say probably the cool new character in this game is Iron Bull. So one thing I never really haven't talked about so far are the Qunari. Qunari are kind of similar to the ancient Muslims, or the Muslims during the Middle Ages. The Muslims, or the Qunari, they're forcing people into the religion. That's kind of what the Muslims did in the 10th century, whenever they invaded the world and almost took over all the world. It's kind of what the Canary are. They're trying to force the coon onto other people. Or if that offends anyone, it's just what I can observe. But usually with the Canary, we've seen a Canary in Dragon Age Origins, and he was very reserved and held back. He wasn't the Dragon Age 2. They were trying to take over the city, and they play as the villain. Well, he is a Canary, and he's different, completely different from Canary. He's funny, he's sarcastic, he makes whips and everything. He's awesome. One of my favorite lines he says the whole game. He's like, "We gotta kill a dragon? It's easy. We're good at killing stuff." It could also help that he's voiced by Freddie Prinze Jr. Freddie Prinze Jr. voiced characters like James Vega in Mass Effect 3. I didn't like James' character in Mass Effect 3, but he also voices Kanan in Star Wars Rebels. Characters, Vivian, she's a bitch, to be honest. I don't like her at all. She's got a wrong vibe because I play as a mage, and she was like, "Oh, mages should be suppressed." I was like, "No, mages should be free. Shut up, woman." There's Dorian. Dorian is a Tevinter mage. I'm so glad they brought in a Tevinter character, because really we've only seen Tevinter characters in to an ugly light. I love a Dragon Age game in Tevinter. I know, I want too much. I just want so much Dragon Age. I just can't help it. Ugh. Also, a Grey Warden called Blackwall. He's an interesting character. I didn't use him much because I already had Cassandra as my warrior, and she had the shield. It's really all the characters I could think of. Really, really great game. Dragon Age Inquisition is an awesome game. Probably, it's the best game this gen so far. Though there hasn't been that much, really. When I started playing Dragon Age Inquisition, I was like, this is one of the best things I've ever played. I think it's just because it's Dragon Age. It's like if Star Wars Episode 7, if it's just okay, I'm still going to think it's the greatest thing ever because it's Star Wars. If people still have a negative, if you still have salt in your mouth from Dragon Age 2, I don't understand it, but if you do, give it a chance and you're going to fall in love with Dragon Age again. Also, there's a post-credit scene at the end of Dragon Age Inquisition, so stay through the credits. I don't know if you skip the credits, it'll show the scene or not. Dragon Age Inquisition has great characters, an awesome story, and if you love Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2, or just the Dragon Age universe, you're going to love it. And I'm going to give Dragon Age Inquisition a 5 out of 5. I loved it that much. Have you played Dragon Age Inquisition or any other Dragon Age games? If you have, comment below, let me know, tell me what you thought. Did you know I have a Facebook fan page? So go on to www.facebook.com/darfeasy. Click that like button. I will be posting updates of when videos are coming, what I have plans for the week. If you like this video, click that thumbs up button and subscribe to see more. All too easy.